is Nicholas Glover with the Tampa Bay Chamber. I want to thank and welcome our viewers tuning into our 2023 candidate interview series for the City of Tampa City Council elections. The Chamber focuses on policy, not politics. And while we do not endorse, we do want to make sure that our members and the business community are informed on where these candidates stand on the issues most important to them. We're excited today to have KJ Allen with us running for City Council District 3 Citywide. Thanks for joining us, KJ.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are just under 60 days from Election Day, March 7th. And now that we're in this final stretch, KJ, can you tell us a bit about how the campaign is going, introduce yourself, and what message you hope to deliver to voters?
As of right now, the campaign is a little bit slower as opposed to some of the other candidates and stuff like that. I definitely got off to a late start, was able to qualify by fee in January 20th, actually, and stuff like that, when I was able to secure like enough donors and stuff like that. One of the major setbacks for me was like job security and stuff like that. Working in education and making that transition out of education has been a little bit difficult and stuff like that. My background, I'm a son of a military family. You know, my mom and dad served 20 plus years. Uncle served 30 plus years in the military. My sisters now serve overseas, as well as family that, you know, are in government service and stuff like that. My service has always been education. I started teaching up in Virginia as a private school teacher, K through 12, while I was solely responsible for like the art curriculum. And then around 2019, you know, after college and all that type of stuff, I moved down to Florida and I became a CTE teacher, which is basically like career technical education. Our main focus is to assist with the workforce by getting these students in these different CTE programs, whether it be digital design, robotics, agriculture, culinary, and preparing them for, you know, the future, whether that be college. Entrepreneurship is a big thing nowadays, and stuff like that. So a lot of different storylines for me, but we definitely got up to a slow start. We did a great job. There's been a lot of support on my end, but, you know, that's just the gist of me as a person.
Thank you. So you're a first-time candidate, KJ. What is the role of City Council as you see it? And do you see that role changing over the course of your term?
I'm heavy on research. Despite whatever level, whether you're on that seat or whether you're a person, you know, going to those different forums and campaigns, or whether you're a canvasser and stuff like that, the biggest thing is the research that goes into it. So I feel like moving forward, that should be a key component of a council member. And then ultimately providing results, because at the end of the day, the people, they want to see results, whether it be like, you know, lack of funding dollars and things of nature. They want to see the results. And I feel like moving forward, Tampa's, you see the articles every day, Tampa's growing at, you know, an extremely fast rate. And I feel like although there were steps and measures taken to get us to this point, right now we're not currently prepared to, you know, continue at the trajectory that we're at. So moving forward, I definitely see, you know, a lot more research and ultimately like providing results for our residents in Tampa.
You mentioned growth, and one of the things that goes along with growth is the need for housing. And our chamber has leaned very heavily into what's called workforce housing, or that missing middle, that 80 to 120% of area median income. You're a teacher, that's aimed squarely at that group of folks and more. I want to ask you the next question about updates and changes you'd like to see. KJ, what zoning or policy changes would you want to see or support to address the growing workforce housing needs in Tampa?
I mean, if nothing else, we have to continue to be transparent and honest with our current situation in Tampa. There's houses being developed every day. There's developments being developed every day. For example, they're building an area over at the old USF Mall, the old USF Mall and stuff like that, where the project has already been set forth. They're trying to include as many different opportunities, you know, things like office space, you know, shopping centers. And those are all things that residents across Tampa, you know, would like to see in their communities. But at the same time, like, not everybody, it's not a one size fit all. Not everybody, you know, wants to live in those type of communities. A lot of them wanted to be a lot more close knit. So I feel like it's very important to kind of use the resources that we have and secure it in that manner as far as workhouse development goes.
Thank you. We talked about the role of city council, and obviously one of the main priorities of council or responsibilities is to approve the city's budget. Some of the budget analysts and experts are anticipating potentially a slowdown during your term. During that time period of slowdown, how should the city prioritize their spending?
I mean, it has to be from top bottom. So we have to sit down as, a group, a staff, and list it in order on a priority based on, the time frame that we can get these things done. And ultimately like the funding. Everything I believe comes down to funding, and stuff like that when it comes to the budget. It's no secret the US is already we're in debt, but I feel like if we're able to provide results, maybe we can, squeeze a little bit more out in these different facets that we need funding for. So I don't see the budget is very important, but if we can bring back results and ROI, return on our infrastructure, whether it be transportation, housing, and things like that, we can definitely, continue to get the needs that the people need.
I want to switch gears and talk about the idea of home rule. Local governments across the state have been critical of the legislature in recent years. KJ, do you agree that preemption has become a problem in Tallahassee? And if so, what would you do to establish a better working relationship with our legislative delegation?
We have to build rapport with not just, the people in Tallahassee, but, our sibling cities like in St. Pete, because they're doing some great things in that area. And maybe we can kind of, use some of their ideas and some of their resources to essentially build up a better Tampa. There's people that may live in St. Pete that work in Tampa and vice versa and stuff like that. So I feel like, we got to use the areas around us to kind of build that rapport, to prevent preemption and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing right now is, and I'm learning that every day in politics and stuff like that, is it's a lot of he said, she said, pointing fingers and stuff like that. And it's at the expense of like the residents and stuff. And we, really need like the help and the assistance and stuff like that. So I feel like if nothing else, we build rapport with the people up in Tallahassee and just come with a solid plan. And I feel like we'll be all right at the end of the day.
The next question is about economic development. The utilization of public-private partnerships continues to be an asset for local governments across the country. What opportunities for those public-private partnerships do you see for the city of Tampa?
And honestly, I feel like we have to use the resources that we have. We have all these, buildings, commercial properties and stuff like that, they have like the leasing sign on it. They're in some of these underprivileged areas and stuff like that. I feel like that's one of the sole reasons why all these redevelopers are coming in, because they have that innovative mindset where they can come in and make a little bit of change. We don't want to continue to build up the city to the point where it's like gridlock and it causes more issues with transportation. We already have issues with transportation and stuff like that. So if nothing else, we don't need new buildings here or there across the city and stuff like that. We need to use what we have. And then that'll just keep the nostalgia, because one of the biggest things people fear, I believe, when it comes to change in this area is the nostalgia Tampa. I see it all the time from different candidates. I'm a Tampa native. We want to keep this, that, and the third. And we can do that. But at the same time, we have to be willing to accept like the growth, because there's new people, influx of people moving here every day. And there's people on their way out as well. So we have to take all that in consideration and just really sit down and understand what assets we have and really determine, what our weaknesses are, what our opportunities are for improvement, and, ultimately what our threats are. And that comes down to like people talk about the environment and all those type of things. So.
Very good. Thank you. You mentioned transportation. Let's stay there for a little bit. Uncertainty still persists with the already collected All for Transportation referendum dollars. As you may know, the fate of those dollars now rests in the hands of the Florida legislature. Assuming that Hillsborough is able to receive those funds this legislative session, what are the most important transportation investments you'd like to see, KJ?
If nothing else, we're talking about they want to limit the traffic on our highways and our roadways and stuff like that. I know there's a big deal about as far as like transitioning to that electrical vehicle. We already have, I want to say, a couple buses and stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's already the Fed are already setting things in motion where they're securing the funding and stuff like that, where they expect government fleets to be 50% ready to go as far as electrical vehicles and stuff like that when it comes down to like the batteries and like the ability to charge, like the charge stations and stuff like that, as well as going up the East Coast where they're building these facilities to take care of the batteries and stuff like that in North Carolina. So I feel like if nothing else, we should double down on it. We should stay ahead of it, because if it's gonna save a lot of money on the back end in regards to transportation if we can get it right. And I feel like once that funding comes out, Tampa needs to be first in line, to receive those dollars and stuff like that, because it's no secret everybody's moving to Florida. It's no secret that everybody's moving to Tampa. You can see it in articles all across, the states and stuff like that. But if nothing else, we have to be in a position to have a solid plan. That way, when the funding is here, we're ready to go and stuff like that. So if that means talking to, different organizations that can help assist with us, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to be transparent as far as like where the funding needs to go, where it needs to be. But at the same time, I need help from, people, experts and specialists in those fields. That way, when I present it to, the public, these residents, they know clear as day, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, and we're going to make the change and stuff together. So that's where I see transportation going. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that can kind of connect not just the different neighborhoods and communities in the city, but all throughout, Florida and stuff like that. Because like I said earlier, people aren't opposed to traveling to Clearwater to go to the beaches or go to their favorite restaurant or hang out with a friend, nor are they, opposed to going to St. Pete and doing those same things. So I feel like moving forward, transportation, we definitely have to take a solid look at it. Same thing with our transportation system in regards to like the railway. And I would honestly say, take a look at the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. They do a great job with transportation. I don't see us getting a metro per se, but they definitely have a plan and it's working. It allows them to get, to and from their, leisure activities, as well as be able to get to and from work and stuff like that. So we definitely need to look at other cities who are doing it right and not be afraid to, be wrong, and stuff like that. And we don't need to keep trying to invent the wheel when the wheel's already been made. So.
Thank you. We've touched on a lot of important topics today, but before we wrap up, is there a policy position that's important to you, KJ, that you'd like to discuss or something you want to reemphasize?
I feel like we really need to look into a lot of these communities and really double down on focusing on the youth. And I don't just mean solely just throwing funding at them and saying, here you go, because a lot of times when we do that, the infrastructure is not set up, whether it's like staffing and stuff like that. My reality right now is like we're short staffed and stuff, and we have to, pull together as a team and stuff to get things, working together. So I would say, if nothing else, we need to focus on these youth and stuff like that. And we need to adjust a lot of things we're doing, because at the end of the day, they're going to be in high school. They're going to be ready to, go to the college or military or start their own business trade, and all that type of stuff. So we definitely need to focus on, their skill set, because I feel like that's what sets a lot of people back, is they don't have that funding or those resources to continue to grow as a person and grow their skill set as a professional. So I would definitely revisit that for the youth and even people who are willing to continue to learn, and stuff like that. So.
Great. And finally, KJ, where can voters go to learn more about you, your campaign, or the positions that are the most important to them?
You can go to KJ City Council. That's KJCITYCOUNCIL.com. I'm on Twitter. It's CCKJ23. And if you go on LinkedIn as well, you can type in KJ Allen and it'll definitely pop up. We'll be launching the site this Saturday, with all the resources, all of like my material and stuff like that, as well as like, the ability to donate and stuff like that. But if nothing else, I would say, just get out and vote, and let's make the change that we need and stuff like that, because we're here now and a lot of us are here to stay. So we just got to keep on improving as we move forward.
KJ Allen, running for City Council District 3 Citywide. On behalf of our members and the Board of Directors here at the Chamber, we want to thank you for joining us today and for your willingness to serve in an elected office. That concludes our interview. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.